Alright, so as part of our coverage of the MSI X79A-GD65 motherboard, we're going to take a look at their ClickBIOS II. It's a clean layout. It's kind of a nice layout, much better than some of the other implementations of the UEFI BIOS that we've seen. And again, on the first page, you have kind of an intro page. This is very similar to what everybody's moving to. We've seen this from Gigabyte, we've seen this from ASUS, and now we're seeing the same thing from MSI. You have a quick CPU temperature, you have the mainboard and system temperature, your date, your time, everything that you would normally see on your main intro page in a standard BIOS, but now it's just here in a very nice graphical layout. One of the things that we did notice is that there is very little lag between moving between items, which is something that we had noticed in older generations of the UEFI BIOS, but now we're seeing that go away. Of special note, and something that we found pretty interesting, is the your boot device priority. Normally this is where you would go and you would click on a drop down and you would move things around and you would change boot device 1. Here it's literally as simple as dragging and dropping what you want. We've just moved our DVD burner is now our primary boot device, followed by our Kingston SSD is going to be our secondary boot device. We want to switch it back, we can do that. We can boot directly from the network, anything we want. It's just very easy to drag and drop. You can even add boot devices here and set up your boot menu in this manner. It's very nice, it's easy, it's quick to get through. Up at the top you'll notice that we have an option to take screenshots. We did take several screenshots. The pictures that you saw in the write-up on our main site were ones that were taken directly using the screenshot utility. You just hit the F12 key, it's going to ask you where you want to save them, and it's going to pop up. Right now it sees our Seagate Black Armor. This is our direct attached storage that we use for USB 3.0 testing. Just a basic external hard drive with a USB 3 controller on it. You can save that to it. Again, it saves it in bitmap format, and from there you're going to need to move it to JPEG or something like that, which is just a much more compatible format to move around the internet or to post up online if that's what you're looking to do. Here you see your quick modes. Standard mode is going to be your basic and most familiar mode. OC Genie 2 mode. Click on that, automatically overclocks your CPU for best system performance. And of course your eco mode, which is going to get you, just exactly what it says. It's the most power efficient. You click on each of these. Over here, these are going to be your major settings and your major options. Each one of these is going to get you into what would be a function of the BIOS. This would be a combination of your main, your advanced, and your boot menus that you would see in a normal BIOS. Each one of those, you just double click it, and it's going to take you where you need to go. To get back, you just hit back here. Advanced, the same thing. Integrated peripherals, you can take a look at what we've got going on there, and then just click back. Again, as you can see, everything is very quick. All of the options here, there's no lag between clicking. When you go into your overclocking, everything is right here. It's very functional, it's very usable. You have your memory Z function, CPU features. Click on it and you can go directly into that. It's just a very nice and very clean layout. One of the things we did have an issue with is some of this, although in some of the areas, such as let's say B clock, you don't get an option. You can sit here and you can adjust it from here. But when you're into items like your CPU ratio, there's no option to adjust it. You actually have to choose from a drop-down list, and there's no direct key input. This is a little bit frustrating, especially for adjusting your CPU ratio, as most people would want to actually just input the numbers here. Again, you still have other options, and options such as your OC Genie button. The operational, is it turned on or off? You push the button, it's going to overclock the system dynamically, and it's going to be probably the best, what the board considers the best as far as stability and performance. So you're not going to get the same overclock you would as if you went in here and tweaked each individual setting independently. You're going to get a better overclock, of course, if you ever do it manually. Moving on, taking a look at some of the other controls, you have your V-Droop control. Again, it's a drop-down menu, not as efficient as being able to just randomly select something. Your voltages, again, there's no direct key input. You have to choose it from a drop-down, which means you have to scroll through several things or drag this bar down to find exactly what you want. It would be much more efficient if you could just put it in there manually instead of having to do that. But still, it does work this way. And again, this is just a very clean BIOS. The implementations here are very nice. We didn't run into any of the problems that we've seen in some of the other BIOSes where there was lag or where there was difficulty in choosing anything that we needed. It was just very quick. Double click it, select it, and you're done. Now over here on the right hand side, you'll see that there are some other options. You can set up your security. You have options to back up your BIOS. You can actually back up the image to a hard disk. You can run live update, or you can use M-Flash, which is going to let you actually update from a USB. You can also open up your internet messaging and email, which this will allow you to load MSI's Linux-based operating system that's called Winky. Kind of an interesting name. It'll let you get directly in without having to have an operating system loaded. So you can see here it's going to ask us where we want to boot from. If we wanted to actually boot from Winky, we would want to do it from the DVD, although there is the Winky partition is actually loaded on our SSD. So now it's going to start our browser, as you can see here, and it's going to open up this MSI Linux-based operating system, which is very quick. Doesn't require you to have any kind of operating system. There's no need to have Windows installed. You can load this directly from the DVD onto a USB drive, or just load it straight from the MSI DVD that comes in the box. It's not exactly the fastest operating system that we've run. This one's actually running off of our SSD. We loaded it into its own space there. But it works in order to get you quick functionality on the system, just straight from the boot. Alright, now here it's going to ask us to set up our internet connection, all of that. Kicks us into the file menu. Right now it's not seeing everything, but it will pick it up in just a second. Alright, now as you can see, when you first kick it on, it's going to, after it establishes a connection, it will need to get an IP address from anything, unless you want to manually set one. However, one of the benefits of an operating system like this is that it doesn't require you to set anything up manually, and any changes that you make are not going to stick after you leave, unless of course you do have this installed to something like an SSD or to a USB key that you're going to put in there. So it's going to tell us Firefox is not our browser. We can go to any website we want, and it's going to bring us there fairly fast, fairly quickly. And of course we can do Skype. We can take a look at email if we want to, using I believe Thunderbird is the primary operating system or primary email that they run here. You can send instant messages, all of that. It's just a basic operating system that's going to let you get into something very quickly without the need to actually boot into Windows. Unfortunately, the downside of it, as you saw, is that it is not much quicker to get into this as it is to get into Windows. So it doesn't have that big of a benefit to operate. So again, once you get out, you can quit, you can power off the system, you can reboot. We're going to choose to reboot here. And that pretty much covers the basics of the MSI ClickBIOS II.